Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The denial at Gate 14. The airport terminal was alive with its usual bustle. Travelers clutching coffee cups, rushing toward gates, parents trying to soothe, tired children, and the constant hum of announcements echoing overhead. But near Gate 14, a quiet tension was building, pulling the attention of everyone around. Two young girls stood side by side, their matching pink backpacks slung over their small shoulders. They looked almost identical. Twin sisters, no more than 8 years old, with bright eyes full of curiosity and fatigue. Their mother, a graceful woman with a calm dignity, held one of their hands tightly while checking their boarding passes. Over and over, the three of them waited patiently in line as the first-class boarding was called. The man walking beside them was tall and composed, dressed sharply in a tailored suit. His presence was confident but quiet, watching his daughters with a soft smile that was at odds with the tense atmosphere beginning to rise at the gate. But something was wrong. The flight attendant, a woman in her mid-30s with a strict expression and tightly pulled-back hair, stood at the jet bridge entrance. As the first-class passengers were ushered onto the plane, she stepped forward and blocked the path of the twins and their mother. "No," she said firmly, her voice low but unmistakably cold. "You can't board through here. This is for first class. Passengers only. Please wait your turn like everyone else." The mother's eyes widened in disbelief. "We have first-class tickets. This is our boarding group." The flight attendant's lips pressed into a hard line. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but rules are rules. You'll have to wait with the other passengers." The girls looked up, their small faces puzzled. One of them stepped forward hesitantly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, ma'am, we're really tired." The flight attendant didn't budge. Instead, she gave a polite but final nod. "Please step aside." A few passengers nearby began to murmur, glancing at the family with a mix of sympathy and curiosity. Whispers floated around. "Why are those little girls being stopped? Are they not really first class?" The mother took a deep breath, steadying herself. "My daughters are tired from the journey. I don't understand why you're stopping us. We paid for these seats." The attendant shook her head. "I don't make the rules. I only enforce them." The mother's voice cracked just slightly as she repeated, "Please, we just want to board with our seats, that's all." The attendant's gaze was unreadable, and the silence that followed stretched uncomfortably long. Suddenly, a voice, calm, steady but filled with authority, cut through the tension. "Is there a problem here?" Heads turned. The man in the suit stepped forward, his presence commanding the room without a word. He moved with deliberate calm, eyes locking on the flight attendant who had just refused his family's rightful passage. "I own this airline," he said simply, his voice quiet but with undeniable weight. A collective hush fell over the crowd. The flight attendant's face paled slightly, her posture stiffening. "These are my daughters," he continued, his gaze steady. "They will board first class." The attendant blinked, swallowing hard, then stepped aside, wordlessly allowing the family to pass. Passengers watched as the man gathered his daughters and wife, moving up the jet bridge with a mix of relief and stunned silence trailing behind them. The shockwaves, the tension in the air didn't evaporate as the family disappeared down the ramp. Instead, it rippled through the waiting passengers like a stone cast into still water. Whispers turned to quiet conversations. "Did you hear who that man was? He owns the airline? Why would the flight attendant deny his own daughters?" Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others nodded knowingly. The incident had stirred emotions that went beyond simple boarding procedures. Among the crowd, a young woman clutching her own boarding pass stared at the gate, her mind racing. She'd witnessed the denial and the confrontation. The look on the mother's face, that mix of confusion, pain, and quiet dignity, haunted her. Back inside the plane, the flight attendant retreated inside the plane, leaning against a bulkhead, her hands trembling slightly. She wasn't sure why, but something about that encounter had shaken her deeply. She had done her job, followed protocol. Yet the look in the father's eyes told a story she wasn't ready to hear. She closed her eyes briefly, her mind racing. Through memories she had buried, moments when she'd felt powerless, moments when rules were used as weapons. The family's quiet strength. Up in the first-class cabin, the twins settled into their plush seats with a sigh of relief. Their mother tucked a blanket around them, brushing back stray curls. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. One of the girls nodded. "I was scared for a moment." The other added, "Why would she stop us, Mama?" Their mother swallowed hard, but forced a calm smile. Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people see what they want to see and not what's really there. Their father sat beside them, his hand resting on his wife's shoulder. He looked out the window, the city lights fading beneath the plane's rising altitude. "I'll fix this," he promised quietly. A secret buried deep later that night. The family gathered in their hotel suite. The mother rocked their son asleep, while the father sat staring into the dark, lost in thought. The twins were playing quietly nearby, their laughter a soft counterpoint to the heaviness in the room. "I never imagined it would come to this," the father murmured. The mother looked up, her eyes reflecting both strength and sadness. "Neither did I." There was history here. A history that neither the flight attendant nor the passengers knew. A story tangled in shadows and silence, pain and perseverance, the father's hidden past. The man who owned the airline was not just a successful businessman. He was a man with a past marked by struggle and sacrifice. Years ago, he had risen from a small town, fighting against odds stacked high against him. He had endured prejudice, setbacks, and betrayals that had left scars invisible to the outside world. His daughters represented everything he had fought for: innocence, hope, and the future he had dreamed of. A silent battle yet, despite his success. He had learned that power did not shield his family from the harsh realities others faced every day. The flight attendant's denial was not just a simple mistake. It was a symptom of something deeper, an unspoken prejudice, a systemic blind spot that persisted even in his world. He realized this moment at the gate was more than an inconvenience. It was a call to action. The unseen war that night, as the city slept beneath the hotel's gleaming windows. The family prepared for what lay ahead. The man who owned the airline was ready to fight, not just for his daughters, but for every person who had ever been overlooked, denied, or diminished. And somewhere deep inside, the twins' quiet resilience kindled a fierce hope. That change was possible. The question, hanging in the air, what would happen when the truth came to light? Would the flight attendant face consequences? Would the airline change? More importantly, what would this family do next, now that the world had caught a glimpse of their struggle? The answers were waiting, just beyond the horizon. Unveiling. The past and brewing storms. The morning light filtered softly through the large windows of the family's penthouse suite, casting long shadows over the sleek, modern furnishings. Outside, the city buzzed to life, oblivious to the turmoil swirling inside. Inside, the family gathered around the breakfast table, but the silence was heavy, thick with unspoken words. The twins, energetic and curious, were trying their best to eat their breakfast, but their mother's distant gaze told a different story. The father's resolve, Robert, father, airline owner, and now reluctant symbol of a larger fight, sat at the head of the table. His sharp suit was slightly rumpled, his hands clenched loosely on the table. "The incident at the airport," he began slowly. "It wasn't just a mistake. It was a sign." His wife, Amelia, looked up, searching his face. "A sign of what?" "Robert, sighed deeply. Of a problem I thought I had solved long ago. But it seems prejudice still runs deeper than I expected. Amelia nodded. We all face battles we can't see, even in places we think are safe. The twins exchanged a glance, sensing the heaviness but unsure of what it meant. Inside the flight attendant's world, meanwhile, miles away, in the break room of the airline's terminal, the flight attendant, Emily, sat alone, staring blankly at her coffee. Her hands trembled slightly, the incident playing over and over in her mind. Her supervisor had already called her into the office. Emily knew what was coming, a formal complaint, an investigation, but beyond the fear of losing her job was something more painful: guilt. Emily's story was far from simple. Raised in a small town, she had dreamed of flying from a young age. She had worked tirelessly, overcoming obstacles and personal hardships to join the airline staff. Yet in her quiet moments, old wounds ached. Times when she had felt judged or unseen, moments when societal prejudices shaped her fate. Denying the twins' access had been automatic, an impulse she barely recognized until the father's words shattered her. The aftermath news of the incident spread quickly. Stoked by social media posts from fellow passengers, headlines questioned the airline's policies, the flight attendant's judgment, and the systemic issues lurking beneath. Robert watched the media storm with mixed feelings. His company's reputation was on the line, but more than that, the incident had uncovered painful truths that he could no longer ignore. The family's hidden wounds. Late that evening, Robert sat with Amelia, their son, asleep upstairs. "Do you remember when we first met?" he asked, voice soft. Amelia smiled faintly. "How could I forget? You were so determined to change everything." He looked down, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. "I thought success would protect us, that money and power would keep our family safe." "But the world doesn't work that way," Amelia replied gently. "Not for people like us." Their conversation drifted to the past, the struggles they had endured, the sacrifices made to build a life that often felt fragile beneath the surface. The twins' questions. The next morning, the twins sat with their mother, their faces serious. "Mom," when asked, "Why did that lady stop us?" Amelia hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Sometimes people make mistakes because they see things differently, but that doesn't mean it's right." The other twin frowned. "But we have tickets like everyone else." "That's true," Amelia said, "and your daddy made sure you would always have your place. But sometimes we have to remind the world to see us, truly see us." The brewing storm. Within the airline, at the airline's headquarters, Robert convened an emergency meeting with his senior staff. He was determined to get to the bottom of what had happened and to fix it. "Prejudice has no place in this company," he said firmly. "We must investigate and take action." Some executives nodded, others shifted uncomfortably. Change meant risk. Emily's reckoning. Emily sat across from HR, the weight of the complaint pressing down. She admitted her mistake, but struggled to articulate the deeper fears and biases she wrestled with. "I never meant to hurt anyone," she said, voice shaking. I was scared." The HR manager looked thoughtful. "Fear can make us do things we regret. What matters is how we grow from it." A secret contact. Late that night, Robert received an encrypted message on his phone. "Not everyone wants change. Be careful who you trust." His heart pounded. Who was watching? Who wanted to keep things the way they were? He knew this was bigger than a single incident. Secrets unraveled and lines crossed. The morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the airline's corporate headquarters. The buzz of conversations filled the glass-paneled conference room as Robert sat at the head of the table, flanked by his closest advisors. The atmosphere was tense. The recent incident had escalated far beyond a simple boarding dispute. Emily's actions have damaged our reputation, Robert said, voice calm but resolute. We need to address this immediately, but also understand why it happened. His executive team exchanged uneasy glances. Sir, one began hesitantly, there are deeper issues here. Systemic problems we've ignored for too long. Training isn't enough. Culture must change. Robert nodded. I'm aware, but change won't come without resistance. Emily's struggle. Meanwhile, Emily sat alone in a small cafe, staring at her coffee. The weight of the investigation pressed on her like a storm cloud. She replayed the moment at the gate endlessly. Her hesitation, the automatic denial, the father's calm but firm declaration. Tears pricked her eyes. She had never intended to discriminate, but fear and unconscious bias had taken over. Her phone. It buzzed. A message from an unknown number read, "Not everyone will forgive. Be careful." Emily's heart raced. Was this a threat or a warning? A family torn back at the penthouse. Amelia sat with Robert, the twins playing quietly nearby. The atmosphere was fragile. Do you think the public will understand? Amelia asked, her voice soft. Robert sighed. I hope so. But there will be backlash, both from inside and outside the company. Amelia's eyes darkened. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight at home. She paused, then added, There's something you need to know. The hidden truth. Amelia's confession stunned Robert. Before we married, she began, I faced discrimination too, worse than anything at the airport. I kept it from you because I wanted to protect you, but it shaped who I am. Robert reached for her hand. We'll face it together. Amelia nodded, relief washing over her. There's more. My family. There are secrets. Things that could change everything. Robert's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Amelia hesitated. I can't say now, but soon the past will catch up. The twins' growing awareness. One afternoon, the twins sat with their grandmother, who had flown in to support the family. Girls, she said gently, you're strong because of where you come from. But strength comes with understanding. She shared stories of their family's history, of resilience, of fighting injustice, and of standing tall despite the odds. The twins listened intently, their young minds beginning to grasp the weight of their legacy. A threat emerges late that night. Robert's phone rang. The voice on the other end was distorted but chilling. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Robert's grip tightened. This was no longer just about the airline or a single flight attendant. It was a war. Emily's breaking point under mounting pressure. Emily met with a counselor provided by the company. I'm scared, she admitted. I don't want to be the villain. I want to make this right. The counselor nodded, acknowledging, your mistakes is the first step, but you need to be honest with yourself and others. A plan forms. Robert and Amelia convened with Elijah, a trusted family friend and advisor, known for his strategic mind. We have to expose the truth, Elijah said. Not just Emily's mistake, but the system that allowed it. Robert agreed. We'll start internally, retrain, restructure, but we'll also prepare for the public. Amelia added, and we'll protect our family. This fight will get personal. Cracks in the facade. The soft hum of the city at night contrasted sharply with the storm brewing inside the penthouse. Robert stood by the window, staring at the sprawling skyline, his mind racing. The threat was real, and it wasn't just a vague warning anymore. A sudden knock on the door startled him. Amelia entered, her expression grave. We can't ignore what's coming, she said softly. They're watching us, waiting, Robert nodded. We need to be ready for anything. Emily's reckoning across town. Emily sat in a small, sterile meeting room with company HR and a legal advisor. The formal investigation into the airport incident was well underway, and the pressure was mounting. Emily, the HR lead said, this is a serious matter. We need full transparency. Emily nodded, swallowing her fear. I understand. I want to make things right. But inside, doubts gnawed at her. Was she being made a scapegoat for a deeper problem? A growing divide. Inside the airline's executive boardroom, tensions flared. Some executives called for swift disciplinary action against Emily. Others, including Robert, argued for a broader approach. We have to address the root causes, Robert insisted. This isn't just one person's failure, a senior board member scoffed. Your family name is on the line, Robert. Public perception is everything. Robert's jaw tightened. The fight wasn't only external. It was inside his own company. Amelia's secret unveiled one evening. Amelia sat with her mother, revealing the family secret she'd been holding back. Our history isn't just about struggle, she explained. There's a legacy of betrayal, of people who would do anything to keep us silent. Her mother nodded. That legacy is why they fear you. Amelia looked determined. I'm ready to face it. The twins' innocent questions. The twins, unaware of the full weight of the family's battles, asked questions that cut deep. Mum, why did the lady stop us from boarding? When asked, Amelia paused. Sometimes people don't understand things they don't want to see. But we're just like everyone else, the other said. You are, Amelia smiled sadly. And that's what makes this fight so important. A mysterious ally late at night. Robert received an unexpected visitor at the penthouse, a man named Marcus, a former insider with knowledge of the company's hidden dealings. I know what you're up against, Marcus said quietly. And I want to help. Robert studied him carefully. Trust was a rare commodity. The threat escalates. The anonymous messages continued. Stop or lose everything. Robert's security tightened, but the warnings felt closer, more personal. One evening, Amelia found a note slipped under the door. You can't hide from the truth. Emily's decision facing mounting pressure and public scrutiny, Emily decided to speak out. In a heartfelt video statement, she apologized for her actions, acknowledging her mistakes and the need for change. The video went viral, sparking debates about prejudice, accountability, and redemption, betrayal and reckoning. The city's lights flickered as rain poured down, washing the streets in silver streaks. Inside the penthouse, tension was thicker than the storm outside. Robert paced the room, phone pressed to his ear. Yes, I understand, he said quietly. But we can't back down now. He hung up and looked at Amelia. It's worse than we thought. Someone inside is leaking information to our enemies. Amelia's eyes widened. Who could betray us? The insider's identity. The next day, Robert confronted his trusted aide, Daniel. I know it's you, Robert said, voice hard. Daniel looked away, guilt etched on his face. I didn't want this. They threatened my family. Betrayal cut deep, and Robert struggled to contain his rage. Emily's courage. Meanwhile, Emily faced a turning point. Invited to a live interview, she shared her story, the mistakes, the biases, and her commitment to change. Her honesty won praise, but also fierce criticism. The twins' innocence shattered. The twins overheard a whispered argument between their parents late at night. Why can't things just be normal? One whispered. Amelia's voice cracked. Because we're fighting for more than just ourselves now. The public outcry. The airline launched new policies, public apologies, and diversity training programs. But the damage was done, and trust was fragile. A new threat one evening. Robert received a threatening package. Inside, a photo of his family's home, taken from the shadows. Truth, healing, and new beginnings. The night was still. The power outage at the penthouse plunged the family into darkness, but it could not extinguish the light of hope burning within them. Robert lit a candle, its flickering flame casting gentle shadows on the walls. Amelia held the twins close, their breath slow and steady in the quiet room. Facing the darkness, the whispered threat had shaken them, but it had also strengthened their resolve. "We won't be afraid," Robert said firmly. "Not anymore." Amelia nodded, wiping a tear. "This family is stronger than any threat." Unmasking the enemy, with the help of Marcus and loyal allies, Robert uncovered the network behind the attacks, a coalition of rivals threatened by his family's power and the change they represented. Legal action was swift and decisive. Emily's redemption. Emily continued to speak out, becoming a powerful advocate for equality and change within the airline and beyond. Her journey from denial to courage inspired many, proving that transformation was possible, healing the family. Robert and Amelia took time to heal their fractured family. They talked openly about fears, hopes, and the future. The twins blossomed, surrounded by love and strength, a public promise at a press conference. Robert stood before the cameras. "We have made mistakes," he said, voice steady, "but we commit to learning, growing, and ensuring no one is ever denied because of who they are." The crowd erupted in applause. The lesson. Sometimes the greatest battles lead to the deepest growth. Sometimes losing control is the only way to regain power, and sometimes one family's courage can change a world. The end.